So you can follow a thought, it grabs you, it grabs all your attention and pulls you along, that's one way. Or you can realize there's a thought arising about what my ex-spouse did 5 years ago to me while I'm meditating. And you can allow the thought to arise and still be aware. And if you do that instead of being pulled into it, then you will find that it arises and it subsides. So then it becomes very much like the sky. Let's say you have a blue sky and clouds occasionally come. So the clouds are the thoughts that arise in the mind. The blue sky, the vastness of that space, is your awareness. So clouds are not a problem if within the larger context of the aware presence. They come and go, and there might be thoughts that say ridiculous things. There might be a thought about, I'd like to eat apple pie now. I really need to eat apple pie. There might be some most absurd things to interrupt your meditation. Then you imagine an apple pie you're eating, and then there's the thought of apple pie. You allow that to be. You don't get drawn into the apple pie thought, or even suddenly you have to get up and run to the fridge to see if there's an apple pie still in there. So the thought arises, you are the sky, that's the awareness, and the thought is what comes into the awareness. Now, if more and more thoughts come, or if you follow one of the cloud thoughts that drift into the space of awareness, one of the cloud thoughts, and you suddenly go, it grabs hold of you and you follow it, and the cloud gets bigger. Then it attracts other clouds that correspond to it. They suddenly come from out of nowhere. And then you are in a big cloud. You're still sitting there trying to meditate, but you're really in a big cloud of thought. And before you know it, the entire sky is cloudy, totally overcast. Now, of course, there's still some light shining through the clouds, but you no longer know where that comes from. There's some light, of course, consciousness. Thought cannot exist without consciousness. Thought is a manifestation of consciousness. But, so there's the consciousness that is behind the thoughts, but you no longer know that consciousness directly, only through the filter of thoughts, in the same way that you don't know the sunlight anymore except through the filter of the clouds. So that can happen. And then that means when you are totally overcast, then that's obviously the end of your mindfulness practice for the time being, because and then you do whatever the thoughts tell you to do. Go do this, do that, must make a phone call. I haven't used Twitter in 1 hour plus. I'm sitting here trying to meditate, it's not working. And you need to know that. So the thoughts, this is a wonderful practice to see that the awareness is the sky. It's not a coincidence that Jesus talked about the kingdom of heaven. Heaven meaning really, this is the heaven. Heaven is the sky. In many languages it's the same word. In French, in Spanish, in German. Heaven and sky are the same word. So why did he use that word? Because it's a very good approximation in the sense-perceived world for something that you really cannot talk about, because there's nothing equivalent in language to talk about it, the inner spaciousness. He talked about really the vast expanse of the sky, to point to the inner equivalent of that as the space of awareness.